how's it going?
You know what time it is?
Do you? Because it's 4:20 somewhere. I know that.
In 1978, the Catholic Church described Up in Smoke as an utterly mindless comedy about two California potheads, filled with witless cliches about the pleasure of the drug culture. What they didn't know was they had just described the foundation of a new genre. Even the creative duo that came up with it had no real scope of. Also, anything that pisses off the Catholic Church is inherently cool and sexy. Cheech and Chong originally conceived their first movie as a compilation of their live shows' greatest hits. They managed to squeeze a few fan favorites in there, but they eventually decided to focus it on two characters. Marin would play Pedro, a stoner known for driving his lowrider and wearing his iconic half shirt with suspenders, and Chong played Anthony Stoner, a bandana-wearing burnout. Even they were surprised when their passion project was a huge hit and spawned 7 more movies together. What Cheech and Chong had done was tapped into a subculture that had been ignored for the most part in popular media. While weed was certainly not as common as it is today back then, it was also not uncommon. I don't think I have to deep dive into pot use in the 60s and 70s for you to know that. That being said, so much more so than today, it was treated like a dirty secret. But let's be honest here, it was not just stoners that fell in love with Up in Smoke. So what is it about this movie that resonated with even some more traditionally uptight types? I think the answer to that is its portrayal of human connection and camaraderie. And I'll dive into that more after I run through a brief history of stoner comedies, when I take a look at 3 of my favorites from an era particularly meaningful to me. While Cheech and Chong paved the way for imitators and admirers alike, their influence was subtle in the years following Up in Smoke. While movies such as Fast Times at Ridgemont High didn't necessarily feature an abundance of on-screen cannabis use, the burnout stoner influence can be felt. The hyper-conservative Reagan 80s certainly contributed to people's hesitancy to portray drug users. That tide started to turn in the 90s, and by the time 1995's Friday came out, it was pretty much anything goes. Movies were now free to talk openly about weed culture and show us as much cannabis use as they'd like. This set the stage for the topic of today's video, my favorite era of stoner comedies, the 2000s. Stoner comedies in the 2000s were also a microcosm of what even non-genre comedies were going through at the time. They were crass, offensive, and sometimes thoughtless. And listen, this video is not about to start preaching about how words hurt. That's been done, that's not what I'm here for. But even I, who grew up with this kind of movie and this kind of general sense of humor, sometimes find it pretty off-putting when rewatching. That being said, I also have a weird soft spot for this stuff. I was born in 1991, I'm very much a part of the American Pie generation.
Hey Finch, what's the capital of Thailand?
Bangkok! Dude, hey, I got shotgun.
Movies were just like that back then. That being said, stoner comedies from around this time were actually incredibly diverse. I mean, just the movies in the thumbnail of this video feature lead roles from 2 black men, an Indian man, a Korean man, a Jewish man, and even a sexual predator. Anna Faris also carved out an outstanding little space in the genre, with no better example than the perpetually underrated smiley face. The heart of the genre is essentially just a spin on the buddy comedy trope. How High puts a spin on the gross-out college comedies simply by having a predominantly black cast. Harold and Kumar touch poignantly on the reality of living as an Asian American. Those first 2 movies in the series were such outstanding time capsules for Bush-era irony. And Pineapple Express... okay, was 2 white dudes, the more I think about it. It doesn't really work. What Pineapple Express does do well, however, is pairing 2 relatable yet quirky characters and letting their chemistry do the heavy lifting. As much as I personally do not like Franco, there's something to be said about he and Rogen's chemistry in their primes, and it's on full display here. On a side note, however, I love some of Seth Rogen's career choices lately, and I'm glad his filmography didn't become 27 buddy comedies with James Franco like everyone probably thought it was going to be. And that helps bring me to the topic of today's video and what I think really helps draw me to these movies. And that's their depiction of human connection. These characters are flawed and accept each other through those flaws. Each of my 3 examples contain the common lovable idiot trope meets varying degrees of neurotic straight man trope. While the lovable idiot is often the catalyst to the problems the characters face throughout, their inciting incidents are usually the result of some kind of mishap, and the lovable idiot is always forgiven. And on the other side of things, the straight man is often portrayed as a sort of control freak, who needs the lovable idiot to balance them out. Without them, their life would be consumed with overwrought hysteria. I think these movies portray how people need each other, and how we can often fill the perceived gaps within us with our friends and family to make us feel more whole. The people we care about are often what makes us feel whole, or at least contributes to it. Life is full of uncertainty, and I believe most of what people do is to cope with that uncertainty. And seeking solace in another person's company is one of the most human things you can do. And in a lot of ways, these stoner comedies are great examples of exactly that. Are they also crude, borderline problematic, outdated relics of comedy? Sure, at times some of them absolutely are. But I think that can lead you astray here, because while some of them are turds made solely to cash in on stoner culture, others are monuments to weed culture, and all the social benefits it entails. On a deeper level, it's about human connection, and how those around us can often take the place of those things we feel we're missing.
Huh, that's a funny looking cigarette. You roll it yourself?
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Happy holidays, everyone. Please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Follow me on TikTok. Or don't. It's okay. Yeah, I really just wanted to make this to talk about some of my favorite movies, so stay safe.